I'd like to start off by giving a very heartfelt thank you to everybody that has tuned into these videos and has subscribed. I've reached the 100 subscriber mark. It might not sound like a lot. There's a lot of videos or a lot of channels out there that make videos that I like and watch a lot. And I mean, they've got like hundreds of thousands of subscribers, tens of thousands of subscribers, sometimes millions. And they deserve every single one of them. I'm very, very happy for them because I love their content and I want to see them do well. I did these, I've said it before, I did these videos for myself, purely as therapy. And, just a chance to kind of get my thoughts out there. I've never been good in social situations and, conversations. And I always feel like, I never get what I want to say out in conversations, which is just, due to my social awkwardness. And these videos are a chance to kind of get a lot of that out there. And I've been able to do that. And that was really the purpose of them. And if people like them, that'd just be an added bonus. I don't think many people would. And I really did not think I would get to 100 subscribers. You might have noticed in my videos, I've never asked people to subscribe because that wasn't my goal. My goal was to get my thoughts out there. And I've managed to do that. And now I've got, quite a few people. Like I said, for me, I'm very, very proud of that, and I'm very, very thankful for all of you. And I just want to say thank you very, very much. A lot of these subscribers recently I got from a comment that I placed on one of Clay Travis's videos talking about Caitlin Clark. A lot of my videos, getting my thoughts out, are about something that's interested me a lot at the time. I'm a sports fan. I've been a sports fan since I was a little kid. And Caitlin Clark has really grabbed my attention, really, really captured my imagination. And watching her in her last couple of years in Iowa, catching the second half of her second to last, her junior year and all of her senior year, and now watching her first year in the WNBA and the year thus far, she has not disappointed yet. So that's something that I've been very willing to talk about, and I've also liked hearing what a lot of other people have to say. I came across Clay Travis talking about him, and Clay Travis is one of my favorites. He gave his theory as to the WNBA's continued pushback against Caitlin Clark, which makes zero sense. So, kind of like me, Clay's trying to get to the bottom and trying to figure out, okay, what's the situation here? And he gave his theory, which is a theory that I do not disagree with. I cannot overstate this. I think he's right in everything that he said. He said, he feels like a lot of it's due to anti-white racism and the fact that there's no real consequence for anti-white racism in today's society. If you talk all sorts of trash about white people, there's no consequences for it. You can say it all you want, and and I mean that's okay. As a white person, that doesn't bother me. People can say all they want about me, say, "Oh, you white," da 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 da. It doesn't bother me. I know who I am, and I just move forward, But at the same time, that's not a very good way to cultivate an audience and keep an audience. Because just because it doesn't bother me doesn't mean I'm going to, sit around and just get pissed on. That's all there is to that. So, I mean, like I said, it's not a big deal. I just move on and, find something that, doesn't, where I'm not getting, actually kicked. And but yeah, Clay talked about it, and he always has a lot of really good points. Like I said, I'm a subscriber to Outkick. Well, I think my subscription might have lapsed. And I need to resubscribe. Had a lot going on recently. The divorce, obviously, and getting a new job, which I like a lot. I'm very happy there. I think I let some things slip. I think I let my Outkick subscription slip, which I need to resubscribe to that because, like I said, I like Clay a lot. I kind of stumbled on him by accident with his Republicans Buy Sneakers 2 book. It was about the time I first moved from North Carolina to South Carolina, and I was kind of wandering around a Books A Million and found that, and I've liked him ever since. And like I said, I'm not sitting here saying that's not probably a big part of it. I've had my theory, which is socialism. And the socialism aspects of the league is what's holding it back. But Clay really made me think there and say, I think that's also I have to throw that in there. There's never any one reason for things usually, and I think that's a big reason too that I've kind of neglected and probably should have paid more attention to. But my personal theory, and I'd love to hear Clay's take on this. I doubt he'll hear this, but I mean, it'd be fun to hear what he has to say. Because I know he's very much, one of the things I like about him, he's very pro-capitalism and anti-socialism. And, that's something that's really, drawn me to him. One of the theories I've always thrown out there is the fact that the WNBA has never had to draw a profit. They've never had to be likable. They've never had to present a likable product. They've never had to promote themselves and their game. Because no matter how good or bad, and it's always been bad, this is what, season 28, 29, and they're still losing, anywhere from $10 to $40 million a year, and the NBA will just go in and write a check and clear all that out for them. And they're able to go on the next season. If the NBA didn't do that, the WNBA would cease to exist immediately. One stroke of Adam Silver's pen away, which makes me wonder, how does the NBA feel about this, giving out all this money constantly, for nothing? They're just basically burning it. I guess it gives them woke points, but, at what point does Adam Silver say, look, you have this opportunity, make the most of it. You better make it work because, the bailouts are coming to an end. But if you ended the bailouts today, all the owners would sell. They would cut their losses at that minute, sell what they could, and get out. But that's never happened, and that shows no signs of happening in the future. And to me, that's one of the biggest things is the fact that, they've not had to make themselves likable. Clay, he has Outkick. Like I said, I love Outkick. And, but, he has to work to make that palatable to the people who want to watch the kinds of things he's saying, like myself. Now, for me, he doesn't have to work very hard to get my attention, but, he still has to, he can't go out there and just be as unlikable. Be back on? Somebody tried to call me in the middle of that. But, he can't go out there and be as unlikable as possible. And, so I'd just be interested to hear his take on that theory of mine. I mean, like I said, I don't expect him to hear about it or, send a response, but, I'd be curious to see, if he feels like, the kind of socialism, you're not going to fail, we're going to bail you out, the role that has to play, because they don't have to be likable. They don't have to do that because they're going to get the money no matter what. And it's so hardwired into the league that now they have a chance to make real money and, have a real, respected league, a league that, makes its own money, stands on its own 2 feet, has its own stars, potentially, even though they have one. It's not had to happen. And like I said, I understand because, with, me being in the workforce, I've said this many times, if the company I'm working for can't turn a profit, they shut down, they sell everything, I'm out of a job, and I have to find a new job, and with the economy, I have to find it kind of quick. I'm lucky to have a mortgage rate. I bought this house in 2020 when, interest rates were at an all-time low because people weren't buying houses because they figured they're all going to die anyways. But, I got lucky there, but still between that, car payments, insurance payments, utility bills, and you can't stay unemployed long and expect to maintain this relatively modest but comfortable way of life. Not having to stay in an apartment and all that. The WNBA's never had to worry about that. They don't. That's foreign to them, and if they don't feel like conforming to this, and they don't want to change, they don't have to. Even with this amazing opportunity. And, like I said, I just feel like if they didn't have, well, first of all, if they didn't have the bailouts, they would have stopped to exist a long time ago. But if Adam Silver came out and said, look, you got 2 years. You either have to start turning a profit or come real close to turning a profit, and we'll take care of your losses from there. But if you don't show some improvement, it's over. The bailouts quit, and like I said, y'all are going under. I'm not putting you under. I'm not putting y'all out of business. But I'm leaving you in the hands of the present owners and the present leadership, and they will have no money to be made, and y'all are done. So I'm putting you under without really putting you under. How that would happen, and I just feel like that's why broader term in society, which, Clay likes to talk about, which is something I enjoy watching as well. I wonder if he would agree with that, um, that's a big reason why that kind of thing does not work, why bailouts doesn't work, while the welfare state has caused way more problems than it has help. Like I said, that's not just me trying to be political. That's just me, stating economic facts that have been researched over 50 plus years. Um, and I'd like to hear his take on that because, like I said, he's right. He's right in what he said. But to me, I just think that the we will bail you out no matter what, and you don't have any incentive or any reason to try to go out and be likable. I feel like that's going to be the big thing that's going to hold them back because I mean, the NBA is all about getting woke points. They give all this money to the WNBA, an activist league, the underrepresented people in our society, even though they're very, very well representative per capita. Um, they, they're gonna get those woke points. They're gonna keep doing that because I guess they figure that the positive press outweighs the negative losses. But how long is that gonna be the case? Like I said, the NBA is starting to have its own problems. Viewership's down. You know, LeBron and Steph, the only two real stars they have, are fading out, and quite frankly, especially LeBron, we're tired of them. So, at what point do they say, "Look, we got our own issues. We can't keep giving out $10 million a year for nothing"? At what point do they say, the return is not worth the investment? And especially in this world now, where wokeness is a very bad word and is not being catered to very much at all. So, like I said, what Clay mentioned with the anti-white racism is actually, caused me to add that to my theory because there's never any one thing. There's never any one thing, and I think I probably put too much of it into that, and I need to expand that out and talk about some of the other issues as well. Which, of course, some of that goes to with the fact the product itself is difficult to watch. Um, but there's a lot of there's some more videos I want to make, maybe today, maybe tomorrow, maybe months from now, who knows? But about some of the things there. So it's like I said, to me he's right in what he said, and I feel like there's just a lot of right answers out there as far as what the real problem is here, and I think to put it down to one thing, like I've tried to kind of put it down to one thing, I don't think you can do that. And but like I said, I'd be interested to hear if you were to ever say something about the socialism aspect of the league and how that's really hurt them, and that's a big reason why this is happening. This pushback against this incredible golden opportunity is happening. I'd be interested to see, because that seems to be right down his alley as far as things he talks about. So I just like to personally hear his thoughts on that as a fan and as somebody who respects what he has to say, and um, be interested to hear, if you felt that. And like I said, I know I've gotten some subscribers. I made a comment about that on that video that some people responded to, and I went from like 84 subscribers to I think 101, which, like I said, is way more than I thought I'd ever get. Thank you guys again. I cannot thank you guys enough. But yeah, I mean, let me know. I like having these, conversations. I had a good conversation last night with somebody because I'd mentioned, possibly going to a 9-foot rim in the WNBA to help with these missed layups. And, I think he thought I was trying to say something else, but he brought it to me very respectfully. And I, feel like we had a very good conversation about it. And, for anybody who hears anything and, you're like, I don't know about that, ask me. I'm not, as long as you don't come forward saying you're an idiot and da 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 da. I mean, say, are you sure? Are you sure this is the case? What about this, and this? I mean, I'd love to interact like that. So, like I said, let me know what you guys think. Thank you again for all the the support that I never thought I'd get, and wasn't really even looking for. I was looking for a outlet to get my thoughts out and kind of put myself out there, which is something I always kind of feared, but now it's giving me a lot of confidence in life. These videos have. So thank you guys, and let me know what you think, and I'll talk to you later. I got some more videos I'd like to put out for the Fever's next game tomorrow, so I don't know, you might have another one today, who knows. So, y'all take care.